Welcome shooters and collectors to another edition of Side by Side. Today we're going to be looking at the Korth 357-38 9mm revolver. And if you say, hey, wait a second, I watched this video before, that is true. And I decided to make another video because the video came out a little bit dark and there's two other things I wanted to touch upon that I didn't in the last video. So I'll actually do them first, and then you can, if you don't want to watch the rest of the video, you can just go about your day and have a good weekend or whatever. The first thing I want to talk about is a lot of people say, hey, which one's better? Which one should I get, the Korth or MR73? And it really is a coin toss, and you really don't know if you like it until after you get it. But if you can't try it out, that is. But I'm going to say I'd go with a Korth. And the reason why is for the service of them. And here's the lesson that I had with it. I have this rear sight and it broke. And it's sort of like the leaf spring kind of rear sight, and it just snapped right in half right there. And I hope that's not a common problem with these. I have no idea if it's just a fluke that happened, but it did happen. I ordered the part, got the part, was all excited about that. Then I looked at the part and I'm like, oh no, got a bit of a problem here because there's a cleat here. And to install this, you have to take the barrel off. And I have no way of doing that, nor would I really ever want to do that. So I emailed Korth. They got back to me and they said, hey, we'll be there in a few months. I think it was for the SHOT Show. And when we're there, just mail it to Nighthawk and I will get it installed for you. And I'm like, okay, that's great. So I was getting close, I believe, to SHOT Show, and I emailed Korth and I didn't get a response. So SHOT Show came and went, and I got busy doing a couple of other things. So then I finally got back on this, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll just email Korth, or excuse me, email Nighthawk and see what they say. So I emailed them, and they got back to me like within a day, and they're like, sure, send it to us, won't be a problem. And I'm like, okay, I honestly, I'd prefer the Korth guy to work on it, but if they're willing to do it at this point, I'll let them try. So I sent it to them, and surprisingly, the gun was back within like 2 weeks, I think, at that point. It was very fast, and they put the new sight on, and it's worked great ever since. So, and they also paid for shipping back. They didn't even ask me for that. So, how can you argue with that kind of service? So I was very pleased with that, and because of that, I would definitely recommend a Korth over an MR73. Now, I will say that Beretta is importing them now. The MR73s, I don't know if they'll be servicing any of the older ones, if you have any problems with that, or if they'll be importing any parts or anything. But for right now, I would definitely take a Korth over the MR73. The second thing I wanted to talk about quickly was these discs here, and maybe if you have a Korth and you don't know what they are, or if you're just curious about them, they are for stacking, and they're numbered 1 through 5, and they have little numbers there, and the diameters are different sizes, not the thickness, but the diameter, of course, and it's in the thousandths. The difference is in the thousandths between number 1 and number 5. And number 1 has the most stacking, and number 5 has the least amount of stacking. And with the number 1 in this pistol, and the trigger weight, which is adjustable, and I'll show that to you in a little bit, the trigger weight on this pistol is between about 2.4 pounds and 3 pounds is what I can set it for. And what it is there's a little screw right here, this one, and you can adjust it. You can turn it this way, and it's on a spring. And the spring, there's sort of like a little sprocket or a cam or something, I guess you'd call it, and that goes in a slot in the trigger, and it presses down on the trigger to create more weight. And as you turn it this way, it loosens the spring, and it's less weight. So I'll go ahead and show you the trigger now. I have snap caps in it, and in single action mode, it's very light. It honestly doesn't feel like 2.4 pounds at all. It feels under 2 pounds easily, but I mean, it just breaks. There's no creep whatsoever. And I'll go ahead and show you in double action mode. That's it. And let's see if I can get it to, there we go, right there. And so that's the trigger. Next thing I'd like to talk about are two unusual features that are on the Korth that you don't see on other revolvers, and that is the cylinder release, which is right here, and all you do is you press in like that, and you can flip the cylinder right out. Very nice operation. The second thing is there's a button that protrudes out the side right here. And all you do is you press on it and you slide the cylinder forward and it comes right out. And this is my favorite feature of this pistol because it makes cleaning it a lot easier and you don't have to worry about, you know, holding the revolver, scratching it with your brush or anything, scratching the grips, it slipping, anything like that. You can just take it out, clean the 6 cylinders, clean the barrel, put it right back in, and you're done. And like I said earlier, this is a 357, 38, and also a 9mm. And you're like, wait a second, how do you get it to shoot 9mm? And it's pretty simple. You have a 9mm cylinder. And the 9mm cylinder simply just goes in, like so. And that's it. It's now a 9mm. Oh, I also forgot to talk about something else, and I'll show that to you right now. You probably noticed that the hammer stuck back when after I pulled the trigger. And that's because there's not enough tension on the spring right now. So if you're ever at a gun show and you just happen to see one of these and it does that to you, or the hammer falls forward after you cock it, that's because there's not enough tension on the trigger. And you'll pick it up, and if you don't know that, or perhaps the seller doesn't know that, you'll be like, oh my gosh, this really expensive revolver is broken. And maybe you'll get a good deal on it. And you'll have to go home, and all you'll have to do, and I'll show that to you now, is right here. There's this screw here. All you do is you take this, and I'll have to untighten it a little bit here just to show you how this works. But once you put once this screw here is not tight, no longer tight, you can adjust this. And you see of course the trigger jumped forward there, but you can see how the spring will just sort of bounce back because of the tension. But what you do is you can adjust the tension on the spring by turning it forward here, and then tightening this spring or this screw down here, and you can adjust the trigger weight there. So it's very simple, but you do have to have a little bit of dexterity and 2 screwdrivers to do that. I'll go ahead and put these up here, put these up now because they get lost very easily, and I sure don't want to lose them. That's another very expensive item that you do not want to have replaced. And I should just say, everything on this revolver, it is expensive, grips, whatever, but it's well worth it in the end, I feel. I'll go ahead and take the pistol apart now and show you the insides of it and sort of explain that a little bit. So the grips come right off, and I take a little hex wrench here, this one's kind of bent, and pull the hammer back. I have to hold it since the tension's not on the trigger. And put it in the hole, and that releases it. You can see that it's now very loose. From there, we'll go ahead and remove some of the screws. This one I already did. This one is loose, and then this one here holds the trigger in place. So we'll go ahead and just loosen it up, but not remove it all the way so it keeps the trigger sort of in place there. And then I'll go ahead and loosen this one as well. To get the side plate off, what you have to do is, like a Python, you will get a soft rubber mallet, or I use this rubber handled screwdriver, and you hit on the frame, and it's kind of brutal to watch that. I guess I should let's see here. I'll go ahead and remove the cylinder as well at the same time. It's not needed anymore. So I'll go ahead and do that now. So if you don't want to see some, wouldn't call it abuse, but it's kind of hard to watch beating on a rather expensive revolver. But here we go. And the plate's already moving. Just I think a few more taps and we'll have it. There it is. The plate is somewhat off. Seems like something's holding it up a little bit. Let's see. Did I not do something over here? Perhaps the screw is still right there. There, I think. They've just been barely hanging on to it. All right. The side plate is serial numbered on the inside that matches the revolver. And here's the insides of the revolver. I'll go ahead and zoom in on this so you can take a look at it. And really don't be intimidated with the insides. It's rather simple actually. Some semi-automatic revolver, or semi-automatic revolver, some semi-automatic pistols are far more complicated and much harder to get back together. But this is it. And as you can see, there's the spring right here to tension the trigger. And I'll go ahead and remove this piece right here and then talk a little bit about the disc. And you can see the disc is right back there, right here. And this is how it interacts with the hammer. So it does rotate, so it gives an incredibly smooth trigger pull. As this piece, excuse me, got my screwdriver. As this piece here rides on the roller, it's just an incredibly nice, smooth trigger pull there. So I'll go ahead and remove the hammer. That'll come out. This will come out. And then, again, you can see the spring right there. And I'll go ahead and remove the trigger now. Pop the screw out, take that, and that's it. Here's the disc. You just simply pull this out, take this out, and that's your disc. And then you just replace it with the disc you want. I'm actually going to replace it with number 5 because I like the least amount of stacking as possible. So I'll go ahead and do that. And that's it. And like I said, I haven't ever had any problem getting it back together. And it's been a great revolver. I've really enjoyed it. And I'm not even really that much of a revolver guy, to be honest with you. That's my video. So hopefully you liked it, learned something. Please subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. Please like, and have a good day. Thanks for watching. Bye.